On May 21st, 2025, Microsoft announced the general availability of cross-cloud data governance with Azure Databricks, which provide the ability to access AWS data through Unity Catalog, allowing users to query the data from the Azure Databricks without the need to migrate or duplicate datasets. So I'm super excited to show you detailed step-by-step explanation of how to architect this solution for your organization. So let's get started. By the way, if you're new to this channel, please click on the subscribe button and toggle on the bell icon to be informed of new videos. So let's jump right into my Microsoft Azure Databricks. This is my Microsoft Azure Databricks workspace. Now I'm going to be using the detailed documentation on creating a storage credential for connection to AWS S3 because I've gone through it and it is absolutely superb. I'm going to quickly scroll down and then we can see we have to create a storage credential that accesses AWS S3 buckets. Now, to create a storage credential for access to an S3 bucket, you can create an AWS IAM role that authorizes access to the S3 bucket path and reference that IAM in the storage credential definition. Now, we have some requirements that need to be satisfied in the Databricks and also on the AWS account. Now, on the Databricks account, we need to have Databricks Workspace enabled for Unity Catalog. And then we need to have this create storage credential privilege on the Unity Catalog metastore attached to the specific workspace we're going to be using. By default, account admins and metastore admins have these privileges. And on the AWS side, we need to have an S3 bucket that meets the following requirements. The bucket name cannot include dot notation. For example, you cannot use something like this. You can use dash, that is fine. You can use underscore, but not with dots. And you can even read more on that. And then the bucket cannot have an S3 access control list attached to it. I'm going to show you all of this. And then to avoid egress charges, the bucket should be in the same region as the workspace you want to access the data from. So once we've satisfied all of this, then I want to move to the last one, the ability to create an IAM. So you must be the admin in order to be able to create the IAM in the AWS account. So I'm going to start off and then we can move to the step. Now, based on this documentation, this assumes that you've created your buckets, but I'm going to actually take my step number one from creating S3 buckets. So for that, I'm going to swipe to the console.aws and this is my account. So I'm going to click on the S3. Now, if you couldn't see this, just come to the search menu and search for S3. And you're going to see the S3 service. So click on that. Now, this is going to give you the option to create a bucket. So click on create a bucket. And then we have the bucket type. This is going to be a general purpose. And then for the bucket name, I'm going to just give this a nice name. I'm using Databricks-bucket-demo123. I'm going to scroll down. And then for the object ownership, so we can see we have this ACL, that is the access control list. So this must be disabled. And this is the recommended. So make sure this is disabled. And then you want to scroll down to block public access settings for this bucket. Now we want to allow public access for this bucket. So I'm going to turn this off so that I'm unblocking this access to the bucket. And then I can scroll down to the bottom and then we have this warning. Turning off blocked access, all public access might result in this bucket and the object within becoming public. So I'm going to click on I acknowledge that the current settings might result in this bucket and the object within becoming public. And then for the bucket versioning, this is not applicable in this scenario. I'm going to scroll down and then I'm going to, at the bottom right hand corner, click on create bucket. Now, if the name of the bucket is unique and not being used, we're going to create it automatically and then we have this successfully created bucket named this, which is absolutely easy and straightforward. Now, this is the name of our bucket and we do not have any files in the bucket. I'm going to show us that later on. Now, let's come back to the documentation. So we want to go to creating an IAM role specifically in order to access the S3 buckets that we want our users to access. So this IAM role must be defined in the same account as the S3 bucket, which is of course defined in the same. So I'm going to come here, or let me just come to this tab, and I'm going to come to the search menu and search for the IAM and click on that. So we can see the identity and access management, and then we want to go to roles. Click on this. Now, for the purpose of demonstration, I deleted the role I created initially so that I can show you everything in detail because I love to show everything. So I'm going to click on create role at the top right hand corner. And then we have 5 options. We have the AWS service, AWS account, web identity, SAML 2.0 federation, and custom trust policy. Now, when you go back to the documentation, you'll see what is needed. So I'm going to quickly scan through so you can see you must modify, or role creation is a 2-step process. In this step, you can create the role, adding a temporary trust relationship policy and a placeholder external ID that you then modify later after creating the storage credential in Databricks. So we can see you must modify the trust policy after you create the role because your role must be self-assuming. That is, it must be configured to trust itself. So I'm going to come back here to the bucket, to the IAM, and then I want to choose the custom trust policy because this is what is needed. So as soon as I click on this, I'm going to see the custom policy tab, and then we have the option to create a custom trust policy to enable others to perform actions in this account. So I'm going to scroll down, and then we have this JSON object. Now I'm going to come back to the documentation, and at the bottom we can see I'm actually using the right custom trust policy, which is what we are asked to create. So for this Roman figure number 2, in the custom trust policy field, we are asked to paste the following policy JSON object. So I can see I've got Databricks on AWS, Databricks on AWS Gulf Cloud. So we want to choose this one specifically. Now you don't need to modify anything in this JSON object. Just copy this to the clipboard, and then we can come back to the IAM. So I'm going to Control A to select this default JSON object, delete, and I'm going to press Control V to paste. And once that is pasted, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and I'm going to click on next. So this is going to show me this add permissions. Now, based on the documentation, this is not required. So I'm going to scroll down and then click on next. Now, we're going to give this a nice name. I'm going to call this one Databricks role. So I'm going to type in Databricks -role, and let me just type in 1. Now you can put a description if you choose, but that's not really compulsory. So once you've provided a meaningful name to your role, I'm going to scroll down, and then we can also see the selected trusted entity, which is what we pasted. Now I'm going to scroll down and click on create role, and we can see role Databricks role 1 is now created, and we can see that underneath it. So that's sorted. Now we want to go ahead and check the next step. We're asked to create the following policy in the same account as the S3 bucket by replacing the following values. I'm going to replace this placeholder with the name of the bucket that we want to access. For the KMC key, I'm going to forget about this because our S3 bucket encryption is disabled, which is the ACL. So I'm going to provide my AWS account ID and the AWS IAM role name. So let's move to this create the following IAM policy in the account as the same bucket. So I'm going to come back here, and then I want to click under the access management. I want to click on policies. I'm going to click on create policy. In the create policy tab, I'm going to switch to this JSON object, and then we can see all of this. Now, based on the documentation, we're asked to copy this JSON object to create our policy. So this IAM policy grants read and write access. You can also create a policy that grants read access only. However, this may be unnecessary because you can mark the storage credential as read only, and any write access granted by this IAM rule will be ignored automatically. So I'm going to copy this policy creation JSON objects, and I'm going to come back here, and again I'm going to select all of this default and Control V. So once that is pasted, now we have some placeholder value we need to change in the JSON objects. When you look at this part, we can see we have this resource, and then we have this ARN, which is pointing to the AWS S3, and then we have this is pointing to the bucket. So we're going to provide the name of our bucket. So I'm going to come back here, and I can see the name. I'm going to copy this, and I can come back and carefully within this placeholder, carefully select, delete, and I'm going to paste. When you look at the documentation again, you can see this is optional. That is, if encryption is enabled, provide the name of the KMC key that encrypts the S3 bucket content. If encryption is disabled, which is disabled in our case, as we've done, we're asked to remove the entire KMC section of the IAM policy. So I'm going to ignore this place and remove. Carefully select this point, including this comma to this point, this curly bracket both side, and delete. And then I can move this up a little bit and I can align this properly. So that is removed. Now we want to go ahead and provide the AWS IAM role name we just created. So again, I'm going to come back to this place and let me just search for the IAM again. And I want to go to the roles, and then the role name is Databricks role 1. And I'm going to come back and again carefully select this placeholder value, and then I'm going to knock it off and paste the name of the role. Now we also need to provide the AWS account ID. How do you get that? I'm going to come back here. Now you can always see account ID at the top right hand corner by clicking on your name, and you can see that here, account ID. Just copy it to the clipboard, and then I'm going to carefully come in between this place, delete, and I'm going to paste. So as soon as that's pasted, you can see the error is now knocked off. So we have provided all the necessary values, and then we have this effect. This is going to allow the authentication to the role and the account ID. Once that is provided, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and click on next. And then I'm going to give this a nice name. I'm going to call this one Databricks policy. And again, we can provide a description, which is not compulsory. And I'm going to scroll down and at the bottom right hand corner, click on create policy. So we can see creating policy, and this is now successfully created. Now I'm going to search for Databricks. And when I search for that Databricks, I can see that at the bottom here, we can see this is a custom managed policy we've created. Nice and easy. Now let's go ahead and continue with the documentation. So we've satisfied this side, and then we want to move to the next one. So we're asked to create an IAM policy for the file event in the same account as the S3 bucket. Now the IAM policy grants Databricks permission to update your bucket event notification configuration, create an SNS topic, create blah blah. Now in this case, I'm going to ignore these steps and I'm going to jump to number 4, attach the IAM policies to the IAM role. So we're asked to, in the roles permission tab, attach the IAM policy that you just created. So again, this is the name of the policy, and I can use this, and we can say this is the policy I just click on. The role, all right, and then we want to go to the permissions as we have been asked to do under the permissions tab. So I'm going to come here, and then I can see the option to add permissions. So click on that, and then we can click on add policies. So I'm going to search for Databricks that we just created. So click on this box to select, and then click on add permissions. So policy was successfully attached to the role we've created. Nice and easy. So we want to go to the next step. That is, this is going to be our step number 3. We want to give Databricks the IAM role details. So in Databricks, we're asked to log into our workspace that is linked to the Unity Catalog metastore. We must have the create storage credential privilege. The metastore admin and account admin roles both include this automatically. So I'm going to come here, and this is my Microsoft Azure, and I want to click on catalog. After clicking on catalog, I'm going to see the option to click on external data. As we can see from this point here, click on the catalog. On the quick access page, click on external data button, go to credential tabs and select create credential. So I'm going to click on credentials tab, and then I want to create a new credential. Now this is going to be a storage credential, and I'm going to choose the AWS IAM role, which is read only. Now we can see that we have traditional Azure managed identity, which is of course very easy, and I've done a video on that. So after we've selected the credential type, I'm going to provide a nice name for this credential. I'm going to type this on AWS credentials. Next, I'm going to provide the IAM role, that is the ARN, that allows us to access the S3 bucket. To do that, I'm going to come back to this tab and switch to the roles, and I can click on Databricks row 1, and I can see the ARN. So copy this to the clipboard, and I can come back and paste in here. So we can give this a comment, but this is not required. So I'm going to click on create. So we're going to say successful, your storage plug has been created. So we have this, please navigate to the AWS console and update your IAM role with the custom trust policy provided below this code here, or this JSON object. So we can see the IAM role, and then we have the external ID, which is already generated automatically. Now I'm going to copy this. Now if you click on done without perform these steps, you're going to get an error when you try to perform validation. So I just copy this, and then we ask to go to the row and then use this. So I'm going to come back here, and then we want to go to the trust. I think we are being told where to go, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let me just show you anyway. So I'm going to come to trust relationships. Under the trust relationship, we need to click on edit trust policy. So this is what we pasted initially, and I'm going to Control A to select the whole thing, delete, and paste what I copied from the Databricks environment, and I can scroll down to the bottom and click on update policy. So trust policy updated. Now we can come back to the Databricks, and then we can click, or just scroll down a little bit to see if there's anything. So click on done. So this is now done. Now this does not mean that we are truly authenticated to the AWS S3 via the role and the policy, but we need to click on the validate configuration to be sure. So as soon as you see test connection success for the assume role, self assume role, and external ID condition, then we are so sure that everything is done perfectly accurate. So I'm going to click on done. So when I click on done, we want to move to the next stage. So the next stage is to go ahead and create our external location. So let me just scroll down to the bottom when the storage credential is validated. So I'm going to come back to my Databricks, and then I can go to the Catalog Explorer. I can click on this, and I want to create an external location. So I'm going to give you some AWS data. Next, we need to provide the URL. Now, this is the structure of using the Azure storage account. So what you're going to do is don't do anything here. Just go to the storage credential that we've already created, and then select the AWS credential and whichever name you use. So we can see the structure S3 : / the bucket path. So to get that, I'm going to come here, and this is my Databricks bucket name. So click there, and I just want to upload a single file. So I'm going to click on upload, and when I upload the file, and I can easily get it from that. So I just want to upload this sales 2015.csv and press enter. And at the bottom, I'm going to click on upload. So this is now uploaded to the location. So I can see the destination S3 : / Databricks bucket demo 123, and I'm just going to copy this, and I can return here and paste that. So once that is pasted, I can give a comment if I choose to, and I'm going to scroll down and click on create. So we have this, an external location allows you to access blah, blah, blah. So failed, read, I'm not sure why, but I'm going to force the creation, click on force, because it's successful, your external location AWS has been created. So let's say the magical side of things. I'm going to come to the browse. So when I come to the browse, I can see the sales 2015.csv I just uploaded to the bucket. So I'm going to proceed to add more of the files, that is the sales 2016 to 2020. So I'm going to come back here, and I want to make sure that I'm here. So click on upload, and I want to click on add files, and let me just pick the 2015 to 2020, and I'm going to scroll down, click on upload. So we can see uploaded file. So let me just go back and check it out. So we can see we have 2015 to 2020. Now when I come back here and without doing anything, we have all the files. Absolutely magical. Let me just upload more files just to show you again. Upload, and I want to add more files. Click on the 2021 to 2025. I'm going to, at the bottom, click on upload, and we can see all the files are now uploaded. We can just confirm here. So when I come back to this place again, there we go. Everything is actually coming in. Absolutely magical. So we can even see the time when all these files were automatically visible in the Databricks environment. And then we can go ahead and use this file to perform whatever data processing or analysis we intend to do within the Databricks workspace. So this is how we can implement this solution, that is to access all our files in our AWS S3 and use them in Databricks. I trust you enjoyed this video. If you do, like, comment, follow me for more videos, and share with your friends because there is a lot to come. Thank you and bye for now. Cheers.